Welcome to financial literacy. We're going to focus primarily on student loans. And so if you've never heard of a student loan, never had a student loan, hopefully this will give you some insight as to what that's about. Also going to talk about smart borrowing and some other outside aid and what repayment looks like after you guys are graduated. Okay, let's introduce Mr. Sean here. He's one of our financial aid advisors. As myself, my name is Paulina Rissy, and we both work in the financial aid office here at UT Southern. For this current academic year, 2024-2025, we have our COA or cost of attendance. If you are a full-time student, so 12 credit hours or more, your direct cost is the tuition fees that are being charged half of all half the spring. For this academic year, that's $10,924. Housing, meal plans, and books can vary by student depending on if you're living on campus or off campus, what kind of meal plan you choose, what kind of classes you're taking, and what type of books you're buying. But all students that are enrolled will get charged tuition fees on their student account. All right, so federal student loans. So these are undergraduate population specific. If you're thinking about doing grad school, I'll explain the difference between the two. But for undergraduate students, you have your subsidized and unsubsidized federal loans. They both have an interest rate of 6.53%. And the difference between them is the subsidized loan does not accrue interest while you're in school, versus unsubsidized loan will start accruing interest from the time that it disperses to the time you pay it off. And interest accrues monthly on the unsubsidized loan. If you are a graduate student or if you're thinking about grad school, unfortunately, that grade level does not qualify for the subsidized loan, so it would only be unsubsidized. And then we also have Parent Plus loan for our undergraduate population. If for any reason your financial aid is not fully covered with like your free money and your other loans, a parent could potentially borrow a loan on your behalf. And that interest rate is 9.08%. But if you are thinking, okay, what type of loan should I borrow? Subsidized loan is always our best loan because it's not accruing interest. So you always want to max that out before borrowing any loans. And in order to borrow a federal loan, there's a few requirements that each student has to meet. So you have to have a FAFSA for the current academic year and UT Southern semester school. You have to complete an entrance counseling and a master promissory note. Entrance counseling is it's basically like general info about a federal loan, kind of like we're doing now, just to that. And then master promissory note is you signing an agreement saying, yes, I'm borrowing this federal loan, and yes, I'm planning to pay back after I graduate. Both of those are available on the student loan.gov website, which we'll share with you in later slides. Also, for federal loans, specifically, students have to have 6 credit hours in their program of study enrolled to be able to take out a loan. And they also have to be meeting the SAT, which is satisfactory academic progress. Yeah. Loan limits, again, these are undergraduate specific. So for our undergraduate folks, as you're moving through your program, your subsidized loan will increase. The unsubsidized loan will stay the same each academic year. So for a freshman, we have $3,500 per academic year. For sophomores, it'll go up to $45,000. For juniors and seniors, it'll be $5,500 for the year. The unsub will remain at $2,000 each academic year. Again, for undergraduate population. And then the Parent Plus loan doesn't really have like a minimum or a maximum, it's just up to the cost of attendance. Oh, and so these loan limits will vary based on students' need. So if you're ever unsure of what like your specific eligibility is, email, call, or stop by and talk to us because we can calculate like specifically each student's eligibility. Normally these are for like for the neediest students. These are like the maximum amounts that they can qualify for. Yeah. We also have private loans. So PT Southern doesn't have a preferred lender list, but some of the lenders we have worked with in the past are Sallie Mae, Discover, and Smart Options. Interest rates will vary per lender and their credit base. So if you apply for a private loan, your credit will be ran and your interest rates will be based off of your credit score. So it's very it's very lender driven, but the school just certifies the loan, but we don't have any control of interest rates or like repayment options or anything like that. And then loan amounts can also vary per lender, but cannot exceed my cost of attendance. General rule is federal loans, for the most part, are better in the sense they have a lower interest rate and their repayment options are you have more repayment options as a lender. But in some cases, students have received lower interest rates with like a private lender versus federal lender. So it's something to maybe research a little bit before taking out a loan. Or again, you can stop by and talk to us and we can go over different options. And with all that being said, we want you to borrow responsibly. And what that means is try to spend less, try to use your scholarships, savings, family help first before taking out a loan. Also try to, if you are taking out a loan, maybe wait until you absolutely need it. So like unsubsidized loans specifically because it's interest right away. And if you're not going to need it right now, you might just want to wait to borrow it later when you actually need it. And try not to borrow like over the direct cost or like over and above. And time and space allows, you can consider working instead of like taking that alone. But as an institution that participates in federal funding, of course, our like student debt is very important. So we try to coach you guys as to borrow responsibly. Now I'm going to turn it over to Sean. Thank you, Paulina. So we have talked about basics of student loan, such as what your loan limits could possibly be, for maximum amount of need. We've talked about differences in subsidized and subsidized loan. So if you get to the point where you've utilized student loan, when you get close to graduation, you graduated or say you transfer to another institution, you will have to go through something called loan exit counseling. So basically what that entails is going through student.gov, same place you go to complete the FAFSA, and completing that exit counseling, which involves learning about what your responsibilities are as a student loan borrower. So that looks like what's your repayment options, what are your rights as a student loan borrower, how to make contact with your loan lender, all that good information that you'll need to know after you graduate or if you transfer to another institution. So that way you can start taking care of your business as it relates to student loans, start getting your life on track to start managing your expenses. So typically, our financial aid office will send you an email notification when you're about to graduate or if you're transferring, letting you know that it's time for you to complete entrance counseling. Again, you can find that on student.gov. In fact, on the slide, you'll notice that we highlighted all the options that you need to go to find your student loan exit counseling session. So you'll go to student.gov, go to loan repayment, loan exit counseling. That will then allow you to go through and complete that process. If at any time you're not sure about that, again, stress, contact our office or emails, call us, come by the office. We'll be more than happy to help you and tell you about what you can do, what steps you need to take to go through that process. So there are a few repayment plans and options out there. So the standard 10-year repayment plan, it's exactly what it sounds like. So you have 10 years in which to repay your student loan. So that's
usually the one that students tend to qualify for off the bat. But if you're looking into other options out there, there are plans that are under the income-driven payment plan. But please bear in mind that that does involve some additional information that you have to get to the loan lender, and they also require you to get with federal government to verify this information. So since those are primarily dealing with reducing the amount in student loan repayment you have to make, they might expand the time in which you, or the window of time you have to repay that student loan. So that process involves submitting information about household size, what your income is currently, any additional information that they would need to determine if you were eligible for an income-driven repayment plan instead of the 10-year standard payment plan. You can find all that information out again, student.gov, contact your lender. In fact, put that up there, saying when you do make contact with your lender to actually talk with them about, hey, what's the best option for me? They'll help you plan as far as what your goals are. So if your goals are, how can I pay this off as quickly as possible? They'll talk with you about that process. If your plan is like, well, how do I manage I'm just now starting out, getting my life on track after being in school. I'm trying to manage my expenses. So what's going to be the most cost-effective measure for me at this point in time? Your loan lender will help you figure that out. That being said, if you ever wonder about how do you find your lender, well, this slide shows you how to do it. Again, student.gov is where you will log in to find this information. You will want to go to loan repayment, who's my loan servicer, and if you've had a student loan that's been dispersed in the past, then under that information, where under My Aid, your My Aid page will populate and it will show your loan history on there and have information about who your loan servicer is. That being said, if you have any difficulty finding your loan lender, you have difficulty using this part of student.gov, we can also look up this information in our office through a federal system to see who your loan lender is, get you that information so that we can make contact with them. We will, in most circumstances, be required to set up like a student portal with your loan lender. Once you determine who that is, that portal will be who you will be what you log into to check your status of your loan history, check your payments. It's good for keeping track of everything, so that way you can make sure that when you've made a payment, that they've actually documented that you made that payment. We can keep track of how much or how many more payments you have to be done paying off your loan, if that makes sense. So, like I said, in most circumstances, you will be required to set up that student portal with your loan servicer. If you have any questions, they also have contact information on the websites with customer service contact numbers, customer service email addresses, in case you do come across something that looks like discrepancy, like, I thought I paid that off. Why is it showing that that hasn't been processed yet? So you can contact them about asking about processing time of payments, things like that. So that the loan servicer is there to help you. So again, once you determine who that is, don't be afraid to reach out to them because that's what they're there for. They're there to help you take care of that and make sure that you're fulfilling responsibilities as a borrower. So that being said, obviously, we want students to graduate with as little debt as possible. So we post a few other opportunities on there in which you may already be aware or may not be aware that are out there for you as undergraduate students. So we have endowed scholarships that are offered by the DT Foundation. So they're not necessarily offered through our financial aid office, since they are funds that have been set up by donors, other benefactors for any various reasons. So it would be for a student pursuing an education degree, a student pursuing nursing, whatever reason that benefactor or donor had for setting up a scholarship would be the reason for that scholarship, and they would set it up under the foundation. So they manage those pools of funds and those scholarships. It is a centralized application when you're looking for that info. So if you ever are wondering, do I have to apply separately for each one of these? The way that the application is set up this year, is that you can go to that centralized site, look at each scholarship opportunity that's out there, select your interest in it, and if there's any additional intro documentation that they need from you, then that application will indicate that to you. That being said, the Endowed Scholarship Application Committee has already started reviewing scholarships and applicants for those scholarships for 25-26. So if you haven't already applied for next year, that opportunity's already passed. But that doesn't mean that you can't start looking into some of those opportunities for the 26-27 year to see what's out there. So I always encourage y'all to at least visit it and see what's out there, so that way you can kind of be doing some planning way ahead of time, so that when those applications do open up, you'll be prepared and be able to get your name in that application. So there are also outside scholarship opportunities to look into as well. So just think organizations, companies, businesses in and around the community. More times than not, they have some sort of scholarship opportunity that they have out there for students who are local. Maybe they're not local, but maybe they're a Tennessee resident. So I just encourage you to do some research on those organizations. You can think of like maybe Lions Club, maybe there's some other clubs, organizations out there too, maybe some banks that you can look at who have scholarship opportunities that they do for students. So those are always great sources to look into and just inquire, hey, if you have anything out there for current college students. But there are also some that you can look through on the web as well. So the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee is a great source to look at for additional outside scholarship opportunities. It's basically for students who live in the Middle Tennessee area. There's a centralized application on that website as well for any student that's looking into additional scholarship opportunities. The Fast Web Scholarship, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but that does more of like a national search for scholarship opportunities. It does require you to set up like an account, but I don't think it charges you to set up an account. But when you're looking online for various scholarship opportunities and doing research, just make sure that you're vetting your sources. Obviously, you're not going to want to pay $50, $100 just to access a scholarship list that might be posted somewhere else for free. So if you see anything trying to nickel and dime you just to get access to a list or to apply, I just would encourage you forgo that, don't look into that option, pass over it, and look into something else that might be out there. So just do research and just see what's out there to help, so that way you can borrow again as little loan as possible. Institutional scholarships. So yes, we also did include that on our list as well. Most students, when they're being admitted to the institution for the first time, maybe they are being recruited for sports. If they are, more times than not, that coach is offering them some sort of institutional athletic aid, so you might already have that if you're a student athlete. Otherwise, if you were coming in as just a traditional student studying, then we have our merit aid scholarships that are based on whatever your ACT or GPA is, and GPA is coming in from high school to us. And then, of course, if you transfer to us, there's also a transfer scholarship that is, again, based on GPA and the amount of credit hours that you have completed thus far. So we do have a financial aid webpage. If you're ever struggling to find this, if you go to utsouthern.edu, pulls up our main website, there is a search bar, and on that search bar you can just type in financial aid, and it should bring our financial aid webpage and website as a result. So we have all sorts of helpful information on here. You'll notice highlighted, we do have the Endowed scholarship application there if you're looking for it in the future. Information about fees, fee discounts and waivers in case you ever be a dependent of a state employee or a public teacher in the state of Tennessee. So those forms are out there if you ever are interested in that or think you could qualify for those. There's also a direct link to TSAC, so the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation. they're the folks that handle the state scholarships. So you have Hope Scholarship, you have this Tennessee Student Assistance Award. All of those are serviced by that entity with the state of Tennessee. So if you're ever wondering about eligibility requirements, or if you're looking at grad school and wondering if you have any eligibility left for some state aid, you can always look at that for good opportunities or good information about eligibility requirements, in addition to making contact with our office too. Besides that, it has our contact information up there, so if you ever need to call us, email us, you can reach us fairly easily at those contacts right on the slide. And also, if you're wondering where our office is, we're in Colonial Hall. So if you're going, through the front doors, you'll just go straight to the back of the building, hang a right, you'll see our office suite, and just feel free to come in and ask us any questions that you'll have. Our general financial aid email address that's provided on this slide as well is checked daily, and it's fielded to your financial aid advisor, so that way you can directly ask them questions and they can respond to you about your questions. So again, please feel free to make contact with us if ever you have questions about anything. And we would be remiss if we did not mention FAFSA for the 25-26 years. So if you have not already completed that, I highly encourage you to go ahead and start working on it and complete that before that March 15th priority deadline. You'll notice that there are 2 priority deadlines on there. So if you think you could possibly be eligible for the Tennessee Student Assistance Award, that's based on your student index number from the FAFSA. So if it's 5,000 or less, you could potentially qualify for Tennessee Student Assistance Award. We'll verify that once you complete your FAFSA just to make sure. But that priority deadline to complete it after March 15th, then that means you won't have any consideration for that state funds. So just make sure if you haven't done that, complete it before that time frame. Otherwise, September 1st is the general deadline for students who are Hope Scholarship eligible or intending to be Hope Scholarship eligible. If you complete it after that September 1st deadline, then again you will not be eligible because you passed that time frame. Whereas before that, then that gives us the opportunity to make sure that your GPA or ACT score is still in a time frame or range that they need to be for you to be eligible for the Hope Scholarship. And again, if you ever struggle to find FAFSA form, it's at CNA.gov, same website that we've mentioned a few times to go and access information about loan information if you need to know that.